It is Tuesday, December 14th, 2021. We will have executive session at 6 and regular session at 7. It is 6:02, and we'd like to call the meeting to order.
This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been provided by transmitting the resolution of annual meetings to the Asbury Park Press, the Star Ledger, and the Tri-Town News, by posting it on the bulletin board reserved for such announcements in the Township Municipal Building, and by filing with the municipal clerk on January 8, 2021. The agenda is complete to the extent known. Formal action will be taken. Roll call.
Please.
Councilman Bonovich.
Present.
Councilwoman Brennan.
Here.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Here.
Councilwoman Richmond.
Present?
Mayor Berger.
Present. If we could stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and if we can remember all of the families who lost lives in this tornado that we just had. It's devastating. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is there any reason to go into executive session this evening?
Yes, Mayor, there is. We have a number of topics to discuss under the headings of attorney-client privilege, litigation, contracts, and personnel.
May I have a resolution?
Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of this meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters permitted by NJSA 10:4-12, and whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to the same statute in executive session, whereas at this time the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of the executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore, be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items enumerated by the attorney. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilwoman Richmond, seconded by Councilman Bonovich. Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes.
And Mayor Berger.
Yes, sir.
And this meeting is adjourned into executive session, and the public is duly excluded.
This evening is December 14th, 2021. We just ended executive session, and we will begin regular session. May I have an acceptance of the minutes?
Mayor, let's do a roll call first, please.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Bonovich?
Present.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Present.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Here.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Present.
Mayor Berger.
Present.
You may proceed.
Okay, so I'm going to do reports of township officials. So I want to start with December 18th is Wreath Across America. And we'll have two events that I'm aware of. If there are other ones, please add them. One at Adelphia Cemetery, and the other one is at Cedar Lawn and Southern Cemetery. One is with the Adelphia Fire Company, and the other is with Howell Heritage and Historical Society. Both will be at 12. There's a Santa run, and there's a list on the website. Santa has already been in Howell, and I would like to thank the fire department and EMS for assisting Santa around town. I would like to acknowledge Superintendent of Schools Joe Isola. Mr. Isola received an award, recognition for Sustainability Heroes Award, which is outstanding with schools in the district, so that's excellent on him. Tomorrow is the 15th, which is the Bill of Rights Day. and that was passed in 1789, and then it was given its own day in 1949, I believe, with Roosevelt. Not Roosevelt. That's wrong. Yeah, Roosevelt. It was 1941, rather. And that is all that I have. Councilman Bonovich?
I'd like to add on to what you just brought up, Mayor, about the wreaths across America. I'd like to thank the Howell Heritage and Historical Society. They've been doing so much. They added Cedar Lawn and Southern Cemetery as well, and just, they overdone their goal. There was 120 veteran graves there, and they got wreaths for 132. So they're doing a great job, and then as far as if you still want to donate, on the website, Jersey Mike's, for every $15, they match $15 for the wreaths in Arlington and across the country. So they're putting up $500,000, Jersey Mike's. So if you want to do that, that's also on the website, wreathsacrossamerica.org, and just search Jersey Mike's, and whatever your donation is, they match it to cover all the graves. Also, I'd like to add on to Christmas came soon. Council got a couple of us on council got a call that FiOS is coming to Candlewood. I know the mayor has been on numerous calls. Councilman Richmond's been on numerous calls. We've been on BPU investigations. The mayor's wrote a letter. I believe, Richmond, you were on the call as well. We kept at it, but I guess someone else picked up the slack, and Verizon listened. So we'll hear more about in the upcoming weeks exactly where, how many homes, and all that. So, and one last thing I'd like to just say, it's nice to have all 5 seats filled up here for a while. Welcome aboard, Councilwoman Brennan.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That's all I got, Mayor.
Councilwoman?
Thank you so much. I just want to say, as the newbie up here, that I am truly honored for the privilege of serving my community in this new capacity. I've lived in Howell for 25 years, and I love my town, and I love the people in it, and I've served in a variety of ways, but this is truly special, and I am grateful for the opportunity, and I look forward to serving with my fellow councilmen and women, and the mayor, of course, so that we can collaborate and do really good things for this town. We need to really start looking ahead and plan, get a little innovative, and deal with all of the challenges that we are faced with, because there are many. But I look forward to the work and to getting things done in a meaningful way for everyone in this town. I think it's really important to look forward while we hold on to the rich traditions that we hold so dear. And I just am thankful.
Thank you. Councilman O'Donnell?
Thank you. To dovetail off of the wreath program that the Howell Heritage is doing again this year, this has been a commitment of theirs for several years. 4 or 5 months ago, Lee Schaefer, who's extremely active in the society, starts to ask people to also volunteer to visit the cemeteries and actually lay the wreaths down. So this is probably their, I think, 4th year for the Heritage. However, she's been involved with the Farmingdale Historical Society, and this is something that she's been doing for many years. So I'd like to give a huge thank you to her commitment and for all those people that are joining in with her to continue it. Also, with our tree lighting that we had and menorah lighting, or relighting, on the 7th of December, I'd like to thank the gentleman that was the DJ for the music. I had said something to one of our employees that December 7th was Pearl Harbor Day, and she asked that the DJ speak to that issue. Maybe it was unfortunate that we picked the 7th to do a ceremony of, that's so exuberant, because actually December 7th, a very sad day indeed. One of the few times, or actually the first time that I'm aware of, that the United States was actually attacked. And we have been attacked since then, as we all know. So I'd like to thank that DJ, who I don't know, but if he watches this meeting, Jeff, thank you very much. I was very happy that he did that. Again, I'd like to welcome Mrs. Brennan to our team. I know that she has a good heart. I know she'll do the right thing for Howell. I hope that the community also embraces the new member and again, shares with all of the things that we have planned to do in the future. So welcome and thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman?
Thank you. I want to start off with a little business, and then I'll get to the good stuff. Mr. Geegan, the first aid building over in Ramtown that we purchased, did we purchase it yet?
It is not a purchase.
It's,
Ramtown First
so we
Aid
took it back, I should
ceased
say.
to
I'm
exist
sorry. Exactly.
December 31st of last year.
Okay.
And in their deed, the town had apparently given them the property many years ago. There was a reverter clause that should they cease operations, it comes back to the township. So this ordinance is just
Taking it back?
cleaning
taking
up
back
the
control.
language, yes.
Is
But there was
there an
no
appraisal on this building at all?
No,
Could we
we-
get one, maybe, to see if we maybe want to put it on the tax roll down the road sometime?
We could,
Yeah.
certainly. yes.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that. I also want to welcome Suzanne Brennan. I'm looking forward to working with you. I think you're going to bring amazing things to the township. And on a sadder note, we've gained someone as amazing as Suzanne, and we've also losing someone amazing as Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris, thank you for your 6 months of service. While we discussed in executive session, you'll be truly missed. You've done amazing work here for the 6 months you've been here. I personally will miss you, and I wish you all the best in your endeavors, and thank you again.
Thank you.
I want to thank Stephen Fetcher, his Team Adventure students. Those kids are close to my heart. They've been my students for a long time before I was on the council. I stopped by to see them at their Christmas party at Howell Point Swim Club. And Stephen Fetcher and all the employees there, they do a great job, and those kids are having, oh my God. You would never know there's anything going on in the world when you see those children. They're amazing. I want to piggyback on Councilman Bonavich's conversation about FiOS. I thank you for the council for working and using your contacts, and Brian Geegan for your time you took, and I know you've been meeting with the people over there, Verizon, and giving them a really hard time, and Joe and Andy Bear and everybody. So I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully we can get it done here in Candlewood, and then hopefully bring it to Ramtown, because I know that Ramtown is in desperate need of that. And lastly, we have a special person here in the audience. He's our Eagle Scout, Brandon Muller. I know he's going to come up here and speak. He did an amazing project, and he's going to come up here and give everybody an update. I'm very proud of you, Brandon. I've been speaking to you and talking to your parents. They should be very proud of you. And so he's going to give the finalization, and I know we have to sign off on something for him so we can move forward with that. So thank you, Brandon, and congratulations. That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Mr. Geegan?
Yes, Mayor, I have a few things. First of all, former Deputy Mayor Russo had stopped in earlier today. He has given me a brief letter he asked me to read into the record, so I'll do that. Good evening, everyone. This is former Deputy Mayor Thomas Russo. First, I want to again thank the people of Howell for the privilege of serving my hometown. It has been the honor of a lifetime, and I will not forget it. I want to thank my former council colleagues and professionals for their hard work and dedication to Howell Township. I wish you all a very productive and successful 2022. I also want to wish my successor, Mrs. Brennan, the best of luck in her new role. Finally, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy and safe New Year. I am sure our paths will cross again in the future.
Thank you.
Next, just to add to the FiOS conversation, I did get a call from the government affairs representative today with the same information. They said probably in about a month, you'll start seeing their trucks in the Candlewood section, beginning with their installation work. Next, Herbertsville and Newton's Corner, a lot of work been going on over there. The county has reported to our engineering department that they're hopeful they'll have the traffic light up and running by the end of the year. It's going to be pushing a little to get it done, but at least we'll put it out there and hopefully they'll stick with it. As far as our DPW, they started the second round of brush pickup on December 13th in Zone F as in Frank, and they're well into Zone G as in George. They've done approximately 460 loads of leaves so far, and they've worked with the contractor to schedule road striping, which is set to begin tomorrow morning around various roads in town. I have a list, but it's kind of lengthy. Finally, resolution number 21-397, that is approving salaries for the various fire districts. I'm recommending to the governing body that be pulled out of the consent agenda and voted separately. There has been a minor alteration to that resolution. It has removed District Number 5 from it. They have not yet provided their certified copy of the resolution, so it would be improper for the governing body to pass, to approve their salary resolution that we haven't gotten.
So the only change that we're making to this would be to exclude the whereas portion where it's for District 5, and then in the back. and the
There's a
last
second
page is the
paragraph that
second paragraph.
yes,
So that's the only changes that you're making?
correct, they're being removed. And then once that district submits their resolution to the governing body, it'll be on for your consideration at a later meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's all I have, Mayor.
Mr. Clark?
Nothing for me, Mayor.
Thank you. Gentlemen? Mr. Harris?
No reports, ma'am.
At this time, and I would like to open for the public hearing portion, but would you like, let's bring up, no, we didn't do the minutes. So we need to approve the minutes from the executive as well as the regular meeting minutes for November 30th. Thank you.
I'll be happy to move November 30th, the regular and special meeting minutes, as well as the executive session minutes.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilwoman O'Donnell, seconded by Councilman Bonovich. Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes.
And Mayor Berger.
Yes, sir.
And the minutes have been approved.
At this time, I'll open the meeting for hearing of the citizens and public comment. Thank you. Paul Remberger? Rayberger, sorry.
Good evening. Yeah, I don't know if you remember or not, I was in here about 2 or 3 months ago. I brought you in that report from the Howell Township Police Department, and just trying to get start getting some trucks off the road. And I was wondering if, I'm just kind of coming here tonight to follow up, see if anybody heard anything, what's going on. Does anybody know? Yeah, I'm just trying to find out if you heard anything on it yet,
Mr.
where
Geary?
we're at with it.
I have not gotten any updates from the police department on enforcement activity in the area
That was,
since it was passed on to them.
that was a rather large report. I mean, I've been over there, and the cars are speeding left and right. Maybe we could do some signage or
Yeah,
something needs to be
usually
done.
it's referred to the police department, that's the first step. They do
Yeah.
enforcement, and
The police department's had it for 2 years now, and they didn't do nothing with it. That's the reason why I came in here 2 or 3 months ago. Gave you a copy, this board a copy of the report, in hopes that you guys could do something with it, because it isn't getting any better out there.
I'll follow up with them and get a response
Thank you.
this week.
Because it was done, literally, it's going to be next month, it'll be 2 years when they completed the report. Not just my road, other roads out there too. Trucks are running amok all over the place out there. It's coming off the county roads, they're very simple. But I thought something was being done. I mean, I waited 1.5 years. I finally put a phone call back into the police department. He says that he gave it to the town engineer. I called the town engineer, he never heard of it. So, I mean, nothing was done, even though the whole entire report was completed. And that's when I came in here, and I gave everybody a copy of the report, and, I had pictures, I showed trucks going head-on into school buses.
You
Can we put
handed
this
it-
on?
It's a very serious safety issue here.
At that time, you handed the clerk, it was a pretty big file.
Correct.
Was that scanned, or is there a PDF of that you could forward to council?
I'll have to check. I don't know if it was scanned.
But if I recall, when I handed it, somebody requested that 5 copies are made of that, and each council person got a copy
That
of
was
it.
correct.
So I don't know if they got it.
We did not.
Well, we'll follow through with that, and as the township manager said, he'll get the PDF to the council.
what should my next move be? Should I come back in here in a couple of months, update?
If you want to give me your contact information, I'll get back to you and let you know.
And one other thing too, I spoke to an official over there in the town, in the police department, traffic division. There's a big problem with cars speeding. This is their report right here. There's something like 3,981 cars and trucks coming down that road a day. 85% of them are doing almost 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, 50 miles an hour in the 35 zone. So that's something like 3,400 vehicles a day speeding. So I went to the police, I spoke to, like I said, one of the gentlemen at the police department. He said I had to come in here, I was gonna see if I can get one of those blinking signs put up, try to slow them down a little bit. I mean, they've been patrolling it, but it's not doing any good. So I thought that would be a good first step. And I mean, the road, there's a lot of people from the Orthodox community moving in there. They're walking down that road, there's no curbs, no sidewalks, and they gotta walk to their place of worship, I guess. I see them walking down the road, whole entire families. It's bad. Believe me, I wouldn't be coming in here wasting your time if it wasn't serious.
I respect it.
And you know, I've been in here
Yes.
talking to you about it literally when you began your first term.
That's
And
correct.
that was, I don't know how many years ago, had to be, what, 3, 4 years ago?
A little more.
Maybe more.
Can we add this to the next executive session, please?
Sure.
Mr. Geegan, I know with the holidays coming up, we're kind of coming up on a short week, but can we at least get an update by the end of the week before the Christmas break?
As soon as I can get it out of the police
Yeah, if we
department,
can
I'll
get that as soon as possible,
forward it.
that'd be great, for at least a little update on something that you've reached out, who you spoke to.
I appreciate
And
that.
then, could we put a speed trailer out there for a couple of days? I don't know if that's,
Again, that's something I need to contact the
I
police
understand, I'm just
department
putting on,
about.
I just would
Yeah.
like to see about getting a speed trailer out there for a couple of days, if that's something that we can look into doing.
I'll tell you how bad that road is. 2, 3 weeks ago, one of my neighbors had a big party at the house, and they parked the cars across the street in an empty lot. At the end of the party, they had to call in a security team from an adjacent town to shut the road down so they could cross it without somebody getting hurt. It looked like 3 police cars out. I don't know what it was. They had the flashing lights like police cars, but it wasn't the Howell Police. I don't know who it was. But it's pretty bad. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate any help.
Mr. and Mrs. Springer?
Good evening. I'm Ron Springer, and it's my wife Susie, and we're the owners of the farm, the Urbury at Bear Creek Farm. Councilman Bonovich and Councilwoman O'Donnell were here the last time we were here. I think you know what we're here for,
Yeah.
but we didn't have the honor of speaking to anyone else, and we just wanted to get maybe an update on if any progress had been made or any new news had been given. But what we're trying to do is we have a small farm in Howell. I've been there for 21 years, and we're struggling to make it financially, and we're hoping that the township would consider granting us the ability to do small events. We sent emails out to, I believe, everyone, and we also had a petition signed. At the last meeting, I think it was 1,600 people. We've gotten that up to a couple thousand people. And in the current environment, as everybody's aware of COVID, we've had so much demand for people who want to do outdoor small weddings, engagement parties. They just feel a lot safer. And at this point, we're not able to say yes to that. And we're just kind of hoping that the town would create something through the master plan or through some other vehicle that we could continue the farm. We live on the property. We employ maybe 12-plus people from Howell Township. And we need some help from the town. And has any progress or anything been mentioned at this point since we've been here
Mr.
last?
Keegan? Or Mr. Howard?
Mayor, as recently as this past Thursday, there was a meeting of the Master Plan Subcommittee, and this very topic was addressed. during that meeting. So there'll be ordinances brought forward to the council for consideration.
Yeah, you're not the only farm in town that's wishing to do this, outdoor weddings and stuff, so it's a big consideration of all council for you, so just let them do their thing, and you'll see an ordinance introduced and passed, hopefully to your liking.
That'd be wonderful. We appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Just for the record as well, being on the planning board myself,
Yes.
I have spoken to Mr. Howard, and he can give you a little bit more of an update, because I think we are moving forward with this sooner than you think.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
really
Mr.
wonderful.
Howard, if you
Well,
may.
Yeah, like Mr. Gagan had said, we're discussing with the master plan, the subcommittee. We have it definitely earmarked as something to be included and for a discussion to be had on how we want to approach it. But an ordinance doesn't come without the master plan. It's actually not proper per the municipal land use law. So we have to go through the master plan. There are a lot of other things being discussed. Master plan is going to be a major update. There is public meetings that are involved with that. So we are really ramping that up. I do think we'll start to see those public meetings occur soon. We will have some type of ordinance included in discussion on events for farms. It's just we need a little bit more time because there's a lot of other stuff that's going along with it.
Is that several months out, Matt, or is it
Yes.
more? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Matt, is there any situation where there could be a one-off permit or something to that fact?
So right now, it's not a permitted use, it's technically a use variance and site plan approval. We do have one farm in the town going through that process. They're at the zoning board right now. That option has been availed to the Springers since 2018, when they were first notified of the ordinance situation.
Okay.
So there's no way we could do anything, I guess, until that decision.
Mr. Howard said it's the master plan, then the ordinance, so
Okay.
we got to step that up.
All righty. Thank you.
Merry
Appreciate
Christmas.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Merlino?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Steve Morlino, still at 51 Peachstone Road for 38 years. I'd like to wish Mr. Dwayne success in his future endeavors. He's done a great job at the few meetings I attended here. I'd also like to thank the DBW for the leaf collection. They did a great job. I'd like to thank the Southern Fire Department for Santa Claus coming through and enlightening our spirits for the season. We need some of that in this day and age. I'd like to congratulate Ms. Brennan for her appointment. And with that being said, I just wanted to reiterate a newspaper article which quotes the New Jersey elect laws. And it talks about campaign contributions. And Ms. Brennan was part of this, and Ms. O'Donnell, and I say this in the spirit of, we all need to know we work for Howell Township, and we're here for the betterment of Howell Township. And, you know, in this article, it talks about donations, donations coming from several PACs. Accurate Builders LLC of Lakewood, Platinum Developers LLC of Lakewood, Mitz Construction LLC of Lakewood, Perfect Stucco Enterprises of Lakewood, Regency Development Properties of Lakewood. Okay, and then we have the lawyer for the planning board of Lakewood. And collectively, they made $24,000 worth of donations to you two candidates at the time. So I just want to let everyone understand we work and we reside in Howell Township, and we're here for the betterment of Howell Township. And I hope that's the spirit that Ms. Brennan brings to the table in her appointment, and I wish her well. On another note, meeting or so ago, Ms. O'Donnell had some disparaging comments. I'm sorry, Ms. Richmond had some disparaging comments about Mr. Bonovich in regard to a lawsuit. Well, I read the lawsuit thoroughly. I don't see Mr. Bonovich mentioned anywhere. Who I do see mentioned in that correspondence and who voted for some of those things that has now cost the township about $9 million was Ms. O'Donnell and Mr. Nicastro. The two of them are still here representing Howell Township. My concern is if they can't conduct themselves properly at various committees they belong to, and that results in the township spending millions of dollars to correct situations that should have never occurred, I think Ms. O'Donnell and Mr. Nicastro should resign from all the boards and committees in the council. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brendan Mueller? I'm sorry, Brendan Mueller?
I'm not a moron, okay? Mr. Nicastro?
Okay, so first, I would just like to thank everybody for letting me have the opportunity to speak. I'm up here to talk about my Eagle Scout project, which is pretty much finished. I'm just waiting on the pavers, like the engraved pavers, to go in the little area up at the front. There's been a shortage of the stencil that they use to engrave the actual things, to engrave the pavers. So as soon as they're finished, I'm gonna lay them down, and then after that's done, and after I have this signed off, which I'm going to work with everybody up here to get a signature as soon as I can. I'm going to work with everybody to get a official unveiling date. So, in case you don't remember, my project was relocating the war memorials that from the old town hall up off Preventorium Road to Soldier Field. So that's pretty much finished. I have about $1,500 left over, which I'm going to donate to two charities that I found. One is the Gary Sinise Foundation, which is kind of like the Wounded Warrior Project, but they donate a lot more of their percentage to the actual veterans. And then the other one is to the Semper Fi Fund, which goes to help veterans' mental health. So I have this folder, which has my project overview and a whole couple of pictures that I'm going to give to Mr. Gagan over here to get it signed off so that I can have my official board review and have my Eagle Scout project finished.
You are amazing.
You are an amazing young man. I mean, younger men should look up to you. You really have proven yourself to be outstanding. Thank you very much for what you do to the town.
Thank you.
Mayor, just a quick comment on that.
Yes, sir.
We have some plans to expand on his project already, hopefully for early spring, just to improve the handicap parking in close proximity to it, building out sidewalks a little bit. So my hope is to have that done in early spring, and then we can do a public unveiling shortly
Is
after.
it budgeted?
It will be.
James Alexander?
Mr. Mayor, council members, James Alexander, I'm the president of the Howell Township PBA. Rich Robotello, he's our vice president, and Ryan Hurley, he's our state delegate. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I sent each of you a correspondence earlier in the day, expressing some of the concerns that we have over at the police department, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to read that correspondence into the public record. Honorable Mayor Berger and esteemed council members, I am writing to formally advise you that the members of the Howell Township Policemen's Benevolent Association, local number 228, by overwhelming majority, no longer have confidence in the ability of Chief Andrew Kudrick to lead, manage, or administrate our police department. The decision to issue this declaration comes after much contemplation and discussion. We did not arrive flippantly at this conclusion, but carefully considered the implications such a decision could have on our membership, on the police department that we so proudly serve, and on Chief Kudrick himself. However, any reservations that we may have encountered were quickly overcome by the duty we feel to protect our brother and sister officers and to protect this department. Each of our 71 members was afforded the opportunity to participate in this decision. Of those 71 members, only 2 expressed any support for Chief Kudrick, and they did so by way of anonymous ballot. The only significant opposition to this declaration was the fear that many of our members expressed regarding future acts of retaliation perpetrated by the chief because of this action. I believe that fact in and of itself speaks volumes regarding the current climate within our police department. Before delving into the details that led to this decision, I want to stress that our members recognize how fortunate we are to serve in a community as great as Howell Township. We recognize the overwhelming support that we receive from the members of our community. We recognize the support we receive from you, our mayor and council, and we recognize the support we receive from the township administrators that directly impact our daily operations. We thank you for the resources you commit to our department, resources that allow us to provide the highest level of service to the members of this community. This is not a letter listing the complaints of a group of disgruntled police officers. We are not complaining about wages or equipment. Once again, we recognize our good fortune to serve this community and this local government. We pledge to continue to deliver the highest level of services, security, and support to all we encounter through our duties. This commitment is absolute and unwavering. The purpose of this letter is twofold: to formally advise you that there is indeed a problem within our department and to seek your assistance in solving that problem. Over the course of the last 2 years, the morale within our police department has sunk to an all-time low. Over the course of the last 18 months, Chief Kudrick has waged a targeted campaign against our local, in general, and against our members specifically. The hostility of this campaign has steadily increased over time. Through this campaign, Chief Kudrick has shown little regard for the rights of our local members, the protections afforded to us through our collective bargaining agreement, and for the laws of the state of New Jersey governing labor relations. We, the members of PBA Local 228, recognize this campaign for what it is: a concerted effort to interfere with the rights and privileges guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States, namely our freedom of association, and the rights and privileges afforded to us by the Constitution of the state of New Jersey and the laws protecting our labor interests. The sole cause of this campaign of aggression was our decision to advocate on behalf of our members and to challenge the policy decisions implemented by Chief Kudrick. In his efforts to interfere with the administration of our local, Chief Kudrick orchestrated our eviction from the PBA office within the police department, ordered us to remove PBA vending machines and an ATM machine from the criminal justice building. He improperly deployed and assigned part-time, non-union police officers in contravention to our collective bargaining agreement and the laws of New Jersey, interfered with and attempted to subvert and sabotage the collective bargaining process. He attempted to circumvent the protections afforded to our members by that collective bargaining process by unilaterally implementing scheduling limitations not permitted without negotiation. Chief Kudrick has targeted union leadership by altering our work schedules, interfering with the advancement and direction of our careers, and issuing unwarranted and improper discipline. Each of these actions has either been documented with the township administration and/or addressed through our grievance process. There have even been circumstances where the township administration has ruled in favor of our local, and Chief Kudrick has failed to comply with the decision rendered through our grievance procedure. There is no doubt in our minds that Chief Kudrick will attempt to justify each of these actions. However, taken in their entirety, we fail to see how anyone can recognize this course of conduct for anything other than what it is: anti-union animus, hostility towards the members of our local, and clear retaliation for protected activity. Despite consistently deteriorating conditions within our department, we have repeatedly reached out to Chief Kudrick to engage in an open dialogue to address our labor concerns. During the last 18 months, he has consistently rebuffed those efforts and oftentimes outright ignored direct requests for meetings. It was not until Chief Kudrick became aware of the vote of no confidence, and then only after communication was facilitated by the president of the Superior Officers Association, that he agreed to meet with us. Despite all that our members have been forced to endure, we reluctantly agreed to this meeting in hopes that we could somehow salvage the situation. Unfortunately, we encountered someone looking to justify a course of conduct that we know to be unjustifiable. We as a local have concluded that Chief Kudrick largely fails to recognize any authority outside of himself. We have concluded that Chief Kudrick does not recognize the PBA's right to impact the policies and procedures governing the operations of the police department. We have concluded that if the elected officers of our organization advocate on behalf of our members, we will be punished for that advocacy. Out of respect for the privacy of those within our organization and respect for others not involved with our labor disputes, we have chosen to limit our correspondence to the direct actions of the chief as they affect our daily working conditions. We do, however, contend that Chief Kudrick has crossed boundaries, both professionally and personally, that should never be crossed. Chief Kudrick has consistently demonstrated a lack of regard for our collective bargaining process and for the laws of the state of New Jersey. Chief Kudrick has consistently demonstrated a lack of respect for the men and women of this department, and by extension, a lack of regard for our families. We no longer feel that Chief Kudrick is motivated by doing what is right for the department, but that he is instead motivated by simply trying to prove that he is always right. The chief invokes the authority vested in him by Title 40 of New Jersey law. However, the authority granted by Title 40 does not allow for a chief to usurp the constitutional rights of his subordinates. Furthermore, New Jersey courts have consistently ruled that the authority granted by Title 40 is in fact delegated to the chief by elected officials in our circumstances through the township manager. The ultimate authority responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of this police department is you, each and every one of you. On behalf of the members of the Policemen's Benevolent Association, Local 228, I am asking for your assistance and for your direction. We do not pretend to know the exact solution to the problems that plague our police department. We do, however, appeal to your sense of duty and authority to find a solution. A solution is necessary for the protection of our membership, for the protection of our police department, and for the protection of our community. Thank you.
Chief has received this, right?
I didn't send it to him, no.
Has the chief received the letter?
No, Mayor. I just received it same time as you did, late this afternoon.
The chief is aware of the vote, though.
When was this vote taking place, may I ask? Was it recent or?
It was the first Monday of the month, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're saying 18 months, 2 years. We've just recently heard issues about the chief. So for council, we need to do our due diligence on our side of the ledger to investigate the situations that you're describing. I mean, I believe that that's occurring at this point.
Mayor, if I could comment, obviously this is a personnel situation, so it falls under my office. That's why you haven't been briefed on anything up until earlier tonight. There are a lot of extenuating circumstances involved in this. The township is tied for what we are able to investigate, and we need to rely on certain outside organizations to complete theirs as well.
Well, like I said, you know, if you're running a business and you have employees and you hear something 3 months, but it's supposedly going on for 2 years, and we haven't heard about anything for 2 years about the chief in a negative light, I find this quite disturbing if that's what's happening. If you've known something for 2 years and not discussed it with us,
I would say it is disturbing, the allegations that are being made. It's a personnel issue. There are certain things, as the township manager indicated, that are being looked into. There are other things now that are being raised in this letter that need to be looked into. We're obviously going to have to contact our labor council and discuss it with them. I mean, this is a very serious matter.
Can we have council at our next executive in January?
Sure.
will he be able to come up and speak for himself, the chief, given this letter is quite strong? Has he been given the opportunity, will he be given an opportunity?
He can speak in public session just as the PBA has,
That's what I'm asking.
if he should so choose.
I have confidence in all you guys. Let's come to a solution. Let's figure this out. Let's have our labor attorney at the next executive, and let's figure this out.
We appreciate that, and we want you to understand this wasn't a decision that we came to easily. We're at our wits' end with the situation. We don't know where else to turn, and we thought we needed to turn to you people.
Understood. Thank you.
I appreciate that, but like I said, I find it that if something was happening and we've not been apprised of it from the manager, I mean, I think that's another issue
Manager is in
as well.
charge of personnel,
I understand,
not
but this
council,
is
and there are some things that are better kept in a tight group because of the fact that, this township leaks like a sieve. And so none of you needed to know about any of this until this came to a head, because as of right now, I mean, the chief obviously has rights as well. So we're going to look into it, and we're going to speak with Labor Council. As I said, I mean, a vote of no confidence is an extraordinarily serious matter. So obviously, the union coming up here thinks enough of it to apprise the council and the township of it. So I think that it is something that we need to look into very, very seriously.
May I add just one more comment? We have no issue with the way that the township administration has handled the situation. We've followed the process that we're supposed to follow as it comes to our grievance procedure, bringing issues, labor issues to the township manager, and we're happy with the relationship that we've been able to have, and the back and forth, quite frankly, to address some of those issues.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
At this time, there's nobody else on the list. Is anybody?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Joe DeBella, I live at 41 Lions Court. I also want to congratulate Suzanne Brennan. I happen to have the good fortune of knowing Suzanne personally. She served on the Board of Education. She has served in a number of capacities, and I am delighted that she has been sworn in and taken office, and I'm sure she'll do a wonderful job working and collaborating with the four of you. I also have great respect for my friend and neighbor, Steve Merlino. When I had the privilege of serving, we spent many nights together, and so we have a good mutual respect. So my comments are not in any way about Mr. Merlino. What I would, however, like to clarify is that campaign contributions happen on a regular basis. And having been one of the old guys, I happen to recall very specifically at a time when a developer donated $200,000 in multiple donations to the Monmouth County Democratic Party. At the same exact time, an application was in front of the planning board to get what is now Equestra rezoned. This is not an opinion, this is fact, because the township intervened and sued. We sued and said this was a quid pro quo, because as soon as the money went from the Monmouth County Democrats, it was immediately wheeled, we know what that term means, within days to the then Howell Democrats, who then voted with their majority at the time on the planning board to approve an unprecedented change that dramatically and fundamentally changed the Route 33 corridor forever, and brought 400 homes on Route 33. I'm not here to debate whether that was right or not. But if we're going to talk about people making campaign contributions, we need to be reminded of history. And I would tell you that I know of no two finer people than Suzanne Brennan and Evan O'Donnell, who didn't take $24,000 directly from anyone. I wish the Howell Republicans could raise that kind of dollars. It doesn't happen at the local level, at least we don't. Other organizations who may receive contributions may make other donations, just like the project on Route 33 that was a gift from the then Howell Democrats after they took $200,000. Let's be clear, not 24, not 200,000. In fact, you can all check with the clerk's office as a matter of historical records. We sued to stop it, and unfortunately the judge said, look, what they did may not have been right, but it wasn't illegal. And so I think there is a history of attempting to prevent actions like that, which we're going to talk about contributions. That was outrageous. That was egregious. And that was brought to by many of the same people who are still involved in this community today. So I think at times it's important to be reminded of township history. And I know my appearance at times is not pleasant for some, and I'm sure you're not happy that I'm reminding you of this particular history, but it is one that is important. Particularly, we're going to talk about contributions. I, too, want to wish our clerk good luck in his new ventures. You've been a fine gentleman. It's unfortunate your tenure was so short. We appreciate your service to the community.
Excuse me, may I ask a question? What year was that?
That was between 2003 and 2005.
Oh, so that wouldn't have affected us. That wouldn't have anything to do with us.
I certainly never suggested that it
I was just
did.
asking.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it was 2003 to 2005. It was the Howell Democrats. I think the last time I checked, you're both affiliated with that organization.
We seem to be stuck between 1999 and 2005 lately.
You know, we do get that a lot, and we also get stuck in 2015 when people involved in Facebook pages and GoFundMe pages take contributions that then lead to the kinds of actions I think you're going to talk about tonight with respect to an ordinance. And it's good that we have these historical documents that we can refer to. But back to your question, Mayor, the council took the matter so seriously, we convened a special investigation. We interviewed people in public, and we did everything we could to stop what was an outrageous action on the part of the then Howell Democrats and the money that they wield and the development that we all inherited in a way that had never happened before when the township then rezones from the dais. But I appreciate your consideration. I wish you Merry Christmas. I have a suspicion when you have your hearing on ordinances that I might have the good fortune of coming back again. Thank you for your consideration.
Happy holidays.
Likewise.
Was there someone else who wanted to come up?
Good evening, council members. My name is Joan Osborne. I am currently acting chair of the Howell Township Environmental Commission, and I am not here to ask anyone to resign or to throw stones at anyone. I'm here to read our annual report. Our annual report is given by statute or by ordinance. It's required every year. I will try to just hit the high points. I sent this to everyone this afternoon, and hopefully you had an opportunity to review it. The Howell Township Environmental Commission is comprised of volunteers who are charged by authorizing ordinance with promoting conservation, conducting research into the possible use of open areas in Howell Township, making recommendations to the planning board for plans and programs for the use of open areas in the township. In addition to that, we have the opportunity to review all the development applications that go before the planning board and the zoning board of adjustment. We also get a chance to review permit applications that are submitted to the DEP, such as letters of interpretation, general permits, buffer transition waivers, and weigh in on those. This year, happily, the environmental resource inventory, which all of the members of the Environmental Commission worked on in 2020 and in 2021, was actually adopted as part of the adoption of the conservation element of the master plan. So that two-year project finally came to fruition, and we are grateful that that was done. We understand it will be part of the website soon, and we will be up to date with regard to what the current status of our resources are. We didn't get an opportunity to brief the council on some of the interesting findings of that report, and I'd like to do that in January. Do a little presentation and maybe as they're going through the master plan to take care of things like the having of outdoor events at places like Bear Creek Herbery, they can look at this environmental resource inventory and maybe take special effort to try to better preserve the environmentally sensitive areas of the township that are referenced in there. We have water quality issues, so we'll do that presentation in January, and hopefully, that will be something that the planning board looks at when they're reviewing the master plan. When asking the members of the commission at our last meeting, the areas that we should comment on as part of this annual report, the thing that, again, we feel is very important is the lack of action, and maybe this will be part of the master plan review, to take action about the prevalence of applications to build warehouses at inappropriate locations, either because they're environmentally sensitive or they present traffic issues. So we would like to see that addressed with some very concrete actions and ordinance changes quickly. I mean, you are having meetings about, the marijuana application, whether we're going to have that here in Howell or not. I think we could have task force on how to address changes to zoning ordinances to address warehouses, how big they can be on a piece of property, how many trucks can be expected at a given site, so that, we don't have them built on roads where there are school buses going every day. Let me see if I can shorten this up. We also think that it would be important at zoning board meetings and planning board meetings where they're reviewing applications to have an environmental consultant that has reviewed or can review these applications and give an unbiased opinion as to the potential degradation that might be caused by development when intensive development applications are submitted. Some of our activities and achievements of this year, we had members that attended online trainings from ANJAC. We evaluated candidates and awarded the Angie Ritchie Award to Jerry Barron, and we've continued in the maintenance of the Winston Park project. And again, we're getting help from the township with regard to continuing to maintain that, make sure the 700 trees that we planted during the pandemic will grow. Our recommendations for 2022 are basically the same as we made in 2020. We would like to see them implemented. We would like to have a more effective opportunity to perform our mandated statute functions, including conducting research into possible use of open areas. I know that we've recently acquired more open space. We would like to be involved in, reviewing what potential uses can be made of those. We would like to have input on the master plan elements, meeting with the planning board to discuss, what the potential changes might be before they're delivered to you to vote on. In the past, the Township Engineering Department did contact us with regard to the stormwater management ordinance that was adopted. We gave our input, and we thought that worked well. We think that's something that should occur on a regular basis. The functioning of the commission this year has been slightly hampered by not having its actually appointed chairperson being able to serve. I have served as a holdover. The commission looks forward to having appointments made in January to get us back up to full capacity and bring in new leadership that will make it a more interesting year where we can do some more projects. We've been helping out with the Shade Tree Commission. We know that the state plastic bag ordinance is going to be coming into effect. We would like to, as per the statute that authorized that, do whatever public education is needed on that so that everybody can transition to that as easily as it's going to be.
You think it's going to be easy?
No, I think it's not going to
Okay.
be easy. That's why we need the public education. So we know that's going to cause a lot of consternation and, just dovetailing into this other thing that I do, which is the farmer's market. This year we got a large donation from the Hackensack Meridian Health System, and we gave out over 2,000 reusable bags at our farmer's market. So, we just kind of like to dovetail these things into each other and try to make it as easy for the residents to transition to this as
Sure.
possible. That's the annual report. So thank you for your time for that. The other thing I just wanted to briefly touch on and thank you all for is your support of the farmers market. We had a very good year. The last two events, the fall market and the holiday market, were very well attended.
It was freezing.
It was freezing, but people came out and they had a good time, and we just thank you for your continued support of that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, come up.
Hello,
Hi.
good evening. How are you guys?
If you could give us your name and address, please.
Sure. Lynn Albanowski, 3 Moss Haven, and I've lived there for 18 years.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Albinowski.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I just want to say congratulations to Councilwoman Brennan on your appointment. I'm excited to see the work that you'll do and to see how everyone, works together. I'm here today. I am looking to open a wellness practice here in town, a practice that would include massage therapy. So in the process of getting that put together, I spoke to Mr. Howard, and he informed me that there were only 4 massage therapy licenses available in town, and that all 4 were taken at this time. So he has said that I could petition the council to open another license. So that's what I'm here respectfully asking. If you guys could open another license, that'd be great. Massage therapy is something I've been involved in for almost 7 years. I'm very passionate. And I think it could do a lot of good for the community.
Mr. Howard, is there any reason there's only 4? Is it by population?
The ordinance is set per population number. I believe it's 1 per 15,000 residents. That's just what the existing ordinance is. To make a change and to either increase or decrease the number of licenses available would take an ordinance update.
So we can do that on our own?
If you felt that you wanted to.
Okay.
Do you want to do it now?
I mean,
So something like that, we would have to wait to January, because the way the law works, you can't introduce an ordinance in 1 year and then pass it in the next. You can only do it in 1 calendar year. So if it's, if council's policy is to increase the number of it, we could have that on right away in January. I could work on drafting it in between now and the new year, get it on for introduction and get it passed later in January. So it's not a very heavy lift.
Oh, okay. So late in January?
I don't know when our second January meeting is, probably mid to later.
All right, I guess, so I
Probably
found.
like the 3rd week, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess my concern is I found a space, and I can't really secure the space until I have the business license, so.
Yeah, so it would be January 18th is our second January meeting, so that would basically be the timing if council wants to amend the ordinance. January 4th, introduction, January 18th, passage, and then it would be available after that.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you. I
Well,
appreciate it.
Ms. Albanowski, we've spoken about this before. I put you in touch with Mr. Howard and Mr. Clark, and I will ask the council. I know we're all very pro-business, and we would love to have you here, and you live here, so, and work here would be great, right? So if we could, I guess, take a consensus, or however you want to do it, Mr. Geoghegan, if we can get this, pushed and get on the January 4th for introduction, that'd be great, because I think we all agree that this is a pro-business approach, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we could do a straw poll right now, just quickly, if it's council's pleasure, we can introduce it, and then we can talk about, the increased number as the ordinance gets kicked around over the next couple weeks.
Does it have to be a cap, or do
No.
you recommend there's a cap?
No, for reasons like this. I mean, obviously, the ordinance right now is drafted in a way, there's an obvious consideration with
Correct.
the type of business. So the ordinance is drafted in a way to help prevent that to begin with. And then the cap, I'm not quite sure why there was a cap on it. I think it was added in 2016. And so depending on what council's feeling is, we could expand it to 5, 10, or somewhere in between.
So
I don't know that we need a huge number of them available.
I would suggest we just go to 10,000 and then you get 2 additional licenses.
We don't want to give Ms. Albanowski too much competition, so maybe just a couple.
Yeah, because, sitting here, it occurs to me, I don't know if we have a wait list for them or anything like that. I just don't know.
Okay.
Off the top of my
the
head.
other question I had was, is there some type of distance limitation?
Not that I know of.
Should there be? Only because.
In between them? I don't think there is. I'd have to look. I haven't reviewed the entire ordinance. Yeah, we could consider something like that. One can't be within X feet of another.
I think that's only fair to the existing business.
Yeah, we can look into it.
Great.
Well, if I could just say, just a comment on the distance. Distance is part of it, but also like traffic flow. So I don't necessarily want to be in close proximity to any other, because not only would that affect their business, but that would also affect mine. So I've taken all of that into consideration when finding the space. So something in this area, they're servicing this part of Jackson, Lakewood, and this part of Howell. Somewhere closer to Freehold, they're servicing that part of Howell, Freehold, that part of Jackson, and, so I did take
I
that
think
into
we're saying the same
consideration.
thing.
Yeah, we are, so that's why I
Yeah.
want to say, I'm not looking to like pop up shop and where everybody else is
The thing
either.
is, though, it has to go into ordinance. This way, the next person might not think the same as you.
Yeah, I understand.
Why don't we do that? I mean, if you want to email Councilwoman Richmond or myself sort of the location you're considering, we can do a back of the envelope look at how far you are away from any other license holders and, back into a number from that.
That would be amazing.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, and I do want to say thank you. I appreciate anybody and everybody who has helped me with this, given me direction, and even just coming up here to address you guys. I'm very thankful.
Thank you.
So
Good
much.
luck.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to come up to speak at this portion of the meeting? Then I will close this portion and we can go to the consent agenda.
If I might, Mayor, there is one thing. Joan Osborne had spoken about Planning and Zoning Board and having somebody, an environmental specialist, to be sure that everything is followed correctly. Mr. Howard, would you just reassure the community that environmental issues are already considered?
Yeah, so when an application is reviewed by the board professionals, they, within their internal offices, will get environmental comments from their environmental groups. I know because I used to do it. And each site is looked at specifically. So blanket ordinances, I know discussions where, Ms. Osborne brought up warehousing and different things. Blanket ordinances don't really work because we have environmentally sensitive areas all over town. I've never seen more Category 1 streams in a town other than in North Jersey and the Highlands. So we have a lot of those conditions, and they're all accounted for on the site-specific reviews during that planning board process. And those are all regulated by the state of New Jersey. So on top of them getting accounted for in our reviews, any type of impact to those areas has to be permitted specifically through the Department of Environmental Protection. They can't get zoning board approval, final zoning board or planning board approval, and building permits unless those approvals are in hand. Most of the time, the developers try and avoid those areas altogether. So there's a lot of layers, and yes, it is accounted for on a site-specific basis for every review.
Thank you.
May I close? May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve R21-381, excluding 397, and to conclude with 398.
I'll second.
Motion to approve the consent agenda made by Councilwoman O'Donnell, seconded by Councilman Bonovich. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
The consent agenda has been approved. Next is resolution number 21-397. Aptly amended as recommended by the attorney. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to move R21-397.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilman Bonovich, seconded by Councilwoman Richmond. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Resolution 21-397 has been approved as amended.
Unfinished business?
First for your consideration is ordinance number 21-32, which is an ordinance of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, authorizing the acquisition of property designated as Block 2.15, Lot 55, on the official tax map of the Township of Howell, more commonly known as 79B Western Drive in Howell, New Jersey.
Is there any comment? We'll close that portion.
Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close public.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman O'Donnell, seconded by Councilwoman Richmond. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 21-32?
Motion to adopt 21-32.
Second?
Moved by Councilman Bonovich, who was second? Councilwoman Richmond?
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
No.
Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
An ordinance number 21-32 has been properly adopted. Next for your consideration is ordinance number 21-33, which is an ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell. This time we'll open the public hearing. Anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this matter, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
No one.
Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Steve Morlino, Peachstone Road. In regard to the salary ordinance, I reviewed it. I just have a few questions. The non-contractual salaries, in other words, management exempt employees, what is the, it appears it's a 6% raise, is that correct?
No, this merely lists a range that they can be paid within.
So what's been budgeted dollar-wise and percentage-wise for management increases?
Budgeted, we haven't completed the next year's budget yet.
But you have a range, so you have to budget the amount of money for the range, is that not correct?
Yes.
So what is the budgeted dollar value?
Generally 2%.
2%?
Yes.
Okay.
In general, year to year, we do 3%, just to,
Yeah, well, I was just wondering where it is in line with the union contracts. What was the union contracts' average pay increase versus management's pay
It's about
increase?
2%.
2%?
Yes,
Okay.
they're
Then we're
similar.
in line. That's all I'm looking for is where are we? Now, insofar as the council's raise, the range is up to $7,500. Is that remaining?
that's flat. It's remaining the same.
Okay. Is there a plateau at which the council receives medical benefits and other benefits?
I
They
believe
don't
it-
receive any of that.
Well, I
There are-
understand the law changed a few years ago, but I just wanted to understand if there's a dollar value where that kicks in, or if the town is considering that, because you can override that.
No, we can't.
Okay.
We're in the state health benefits plan, so only full-time employees are eligible for medical benefits.
Okay, that's my understanding of it, and the salary limit is $7,500, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, I'd be remiss in not complimenting our police department on the recent issues at Howell High School and how expeditiously that was handled. That was very much appreciated. I have 2 grandkids at that school, and that was done very well, considering what's going on in this country, so I thank them for that.
Amen.
Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Moved by Councilman Bonovich, seconded by Councilwoman Brennan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 21-33?
Motion to adopt ordinance 21-33.
Second?
Moved by Councilman Bonovich, seconded by Councilwoman Richmond. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
An ordinance number 21-33 has been properly adopted. Next for consideration is ordinance 21-34, which is an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of lands from Zebra Holdings, the Second LLC, and River Avenue Associates LLC for open space in the Township of Howell known as Block 69, Lots 5, 5.01, 6, 7, and 8, containing approximately 20 acres on Ford Road. Open the public hearing. If anyone wishes to speak on this item, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bonovich, seconded by Councilwoman O'Donnell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 21-34?
Make the motion to adopt ordinance 21-34.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bonovich, seconded by Councilwoman Richmond. Is there any further discussion?
Mayor, may I?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I have a statement I'd like to read into the record. Just for parliamentary procedures and the rule of common courtesy, I actually had to write my thoughts down because I have a lot of thoughts. So I respectfully request that I be allowed to make my remarks without any interruption. Let me first say that without a doubt, I 100% support open space and open space preservation. I do oppose unnecessary high-density residential development, and I want to maintain Howell's unique character and quality of life. And while it is good news that we are preserving land under this proposed ordinance, how we got here, and I said this before, and the extraordinary extra costs we are incurring were avoidable. Frankly, based on nothing but the pure factual evidence that is publicly available, this acquisition represents a black mark on our township. Let me be specific. As far back as 2015, various groups strongly opposed a potential development on this land, which is their right. However, for select groups, their protests and oppositions took a reckless, ugly, and irresponsible turn when they began to make veiled, indirect, and at times very direct anti-Semitic comments. I am all for free speech, and I completely support our First Amendment right. In fact, I'm, for one, very opinionated on social media, and I express my own views and beliefs. However, there is a huge difference between free speech and hate speech. That creates a dangerous climate in this community. In the case of this property, the way in which certain people behaved was flat out wrong and very disturbing. It is why a major part of the overall settlement requires the township and our insurers having to write a check for $675,000 to the landowner as part of settling the damage that they allege. The $675,000 paid by the Howell taxpayers due to the reckless and irresponsible behavior of some people, including Councilman Bonovich, who was then not an elected official. Let me put that on the record. If taxpayers are fed up with this unnecessary spending, they have 675,000 reasons to be unhappy with how this transpired. The facts are that stirring the pot, inflaming religious tensions, and pitting people against one another is dangerous and absolutely uncalled for. People have a right to thoughtfully and passionately support or oppose any project in this town. I support such a debate. However, when the debate turns ugly, it hurts the community and results in things like the Department of Justice investigations and taxpayers having to foot the bill of $675,000 to settle this reckless of a small group of people with their own personal agenda. Now, to be clear, I am sure we will hear that the same people responsible for the hate speech and the $675,000 were expressing their First Amendment rights, and that their efforts preserved land. The fact tells a chilling and different story as I just described. Yes, we may preserve this land, but at a cost so large that we need to bond for it. This single tract would have used up all of our open space funds. This is what happens when people use hate speech and anti-Semitism for their own personal gain. Others may have their own opinion on this matter, which I am certain will be the case, and that's absolutely fine. However, they are not entitled to their own facts. And the facts here are that based on unthinkable acts of a small few people, the taxpayers are getting hurt yet again. I will vote yes for this ordinance, but I do with profound sadness due to the depths some went to inflame this process, cause division, pain, and huge taxpayer-funded settlements. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You ready for the vote?
Yes.
Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Ordinance number 21-34 has been properly adopted. Next is ordinance 21-35, which is a bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of real property, appropriating $8,100,000 therefore, authorizing the issuance of $7,616,000 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the cost thereof, authorizing in and by the Township of Howell, the County of Monmouth, New Jersey. The public hearing on this ordinance is open. If anyone wishes to speak to this matter, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mark Parisi, Two Castle Court.
Hi, Mark.
So I would hope that we can all collectively agree that the fact that we're in this position regarding this settlement is not desirable by anyone's imagination, but we're here. And I think fanning the flames that caused this settlement is a disservice not only to the Jewish members of this community, but to our Jewish neighbors in Lakewood. And in light of the fact that we're going to have to continue to coexist, live together, and learn to respect each other's cultures and communities, that as we can, if we're going to politicize this settlement, I think it's only going to hurt people of that faith. And I would just call upon everybody to try to refrain from making the statements and playing the political blame game and pointing fingers, because the reality is, listen, I understand that, we're not all lawyers like Mr. Clark and Mr. Cucchiaro and people that worked on this case. Mr. Clark was one of the council, attorney representatives that worked on this case before he became township attorney for this town. Councilwoman O'Donnell was on the zoning board when this case was heard before the zoning board. There are people that were intimately involved with this before we got here today in December of 2021. And I read through the complaint. I read through the judge's decision. Okay? This complaint was, the defendants were the town and the zoning board. The defendants were not a Facebook group. Okay? They didn't bring an action against a Facebook group. They didn't bring an action against private citizens that may be sitting up on council here tonight. They brought an action against the zoning board for the decisions that were made by the zoning board, the actions of the zoning board, the actions of the zoning board professionals, and the comments that were made by the public at the zoning board hearings in December of 2015 and February of 2016. That's the basis of the actions of why we're at this settlement tonight. And if you read the judge's decision, she did not find that the comments on social media were actually relevant to the actual underlying land use issues regarding what the decision of the zoning board was, and the fact that the town council changed the ordinance in the middle of the appeal that was pending before the zoning board at that time. Literally, the applicant came to the zoning board in December of 2015, and a month later on, the council was changing the ordinance to remove educational facilities from the Area 2 zone. The public needs to know that. And that upset a lot of people in the community, and that led to where we're at right now. But let's just say for a second that Councilwoman Richmond's right, that the comments that were made on a social media group that were anti-Semitic, okay? Let's just take that theory and run with that for a second. And somehow, as the complaint says, that it influenced the decision of the zoning board. Is it not wrong or even more egregious that the zoning board allowed comments that were being made on public social media accounts to influence their job of what they're supposed to do? Think about that for a second. I'll repeat that. The zoning board has clearly defined rules that they need to follow regarding land use, and that they pandered or caved to anti-Semitic rhetoric that was made on social media forums. That's the theory that you're putting out there, Ms. Richmond. And I don't want to get in a back and forth with you. That's fine. We could talk offline somewhere and so forth.
I'm good.
No one interrupted you. Please don't interrupt me. But that's the theory that they're putting out there, that there was comments made on a social media platform and the zoning board caved into the pressures of those comments. Well, shame on the zoning board for allowing that to happen. Shame on them. And if you go through and you read through the complaint and you go through and you read through the judge's decision, it's pretty clear that the reason why we are here today is because of what happened at that zoning board hearing with the zoning board members.
1 minute.
The zoning board professionals, and the comments that were allowed to be put on the record at the zoning board during that time. And I know it was probably not an easy situation for everyone to be in, but I just think that it's quite outrageous to listen to our elected officials try to point fingers and play the blame game when none of you were sitting on council back in 2015 and 16. Okay? And here we are. So, thank you, and I wish everyone a happy holidays.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants?
Joe DeBello, 41 Lions Court, speaking on this particular ordinance. I heard Ms. Richmond's comments, and maybe I was in a different meeting. I think the comments, as I understood them, were that as a result of whatever comments were made, they had to be significant enough for you all to write someone a check for $675,000. So if none of that mattered, if none of this rhetoric that filtered through the community mattered, why would someone just decide to write someone $675,000 in a settlement? I may have been born yesterday, but I certainly wasn't born last night. And I appreciate those that stir the pot to then come up here and attempt to cover their own backside for some of the very mess that they contributed to participating in. $675,000? You just don't write a check nilly-willy as some function of a settlement if no one did anything wrong. The Department of Justice, from what I read, doesn't just decide to show up and perform an investigation of the township when no one did anything wrong. Accusations that zoning board members were influenced, that's baseless and it's reckless. To suggest that a zoning board member even went on social media. So the fact of the matter is, when you read the material, which we all had an opportunity to do so, it is clear there is a reason you wrote a check, or you and your insurer are going to write a check for $675,000. And I think it also bears witness to suggest that anyone involved in the comments that were out there, and regrettably people up on that dais were, they participated in chats, they participated in GoFundMe pages. I happened to see a screenshot of a GoFundMe page where someone thanked a contributor who went under the alias Adolf Hitler. And you know whose GoFundMe page that was? John Bonovich. These are facts. I'm sorry that this has to come out.
And I'm not the contributor, so I cannot control the public.
Well, you know what you do? You say, I don't want your money. How dare you? How dare you? Did you return the money? Did you return his contribution? We're talking about contributions earlier.
That wasn't my money.
It has your GoFundMe page, monies you were collecting on your behalf, and it had your lawsuit posted on your GoFundMe site.
That was the residents of this community.
Did you participate in it? Did you participate in that?
I raised money.
Okay, well, therefore,
You know what? And also, you're correct. That's $675,000, $500,000. Thank God for insurance. That's coming from the jail.
How about the $8 million we're bonding for? How about the $8 million we're bonding for?
Hold on a second. Thank God.
The $8 million we're bonding for, it's for open space. You don't want open space?
Of course I would.
It's for open
Would
space.
you like a copy of my statement?
It's for open
Because I
space.
did state that, but
So
how
if
we
I
got
may-
here is incorrect.
If I may interject for a moment, we're having public comments on ordinance 21-35.
Thank you for your time, Joe.
My comment on the ordinance is that it is fundamentally clear that if anyone of any decency participated in a page where their name was listed on it, their name in a lawsuit was listed on it, and in these times, in this charged climate, someone would donate money under the alias Adolf Hitler, and they would accept those monies and not demand that they be returned, is a shameful act.
Shame on that person is
And
correct.
shame on you for not returning
Shame
the
on-
dollars or condemning them.
Now, I don't even recall seeing that, but you know what?
Unfortunately, it
You know
happened. And if you prefer to suggest that it didn't.
You know what? There's a lawsuit, there was a GoFundMe, it was the residents, they all pitched in, and you know what? Someone didn't want to put their name, that's their anonymous name.
So they opted to use the name Adolf Hitler, and you're okay with that?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, at the time.
I
you
am
must
not
have been.
okay with that, Joe.
I'm
I'm not.
glad to hear you're not.
I'm not
Councilman.
okay.
I'm glad to hear you're not.
I'm very disappointed in that,
Gentlemen,
and if I
please.
saw that, things would have been taken care of. So, that's it for me.
With respect to this ordinance, it is clear that while some of your insurance may be paying for this, you know who pays in the end? The taxpayers. Because your joint insurance fund premiums, based on that kind of a payout, they're going up. So Howell taxpayers can thank you, Mr. Bonovich. 675,000 reasons.
I think you've said enough, Mr. DeBella.
Excuse me,
I'm
point of
sorry.
order.
I
No,
believe
point of
you've
order,
said
excuse
enough.
me, point of order, Mr. Clark. They give Mr. Parisi the same respect that Mr. DeBella deserves.
Mr.
Please.
DeBella has the
Parisi is
floor.
not acting the way
And
Mr.
we
Oh,
can't
that's
cut
your
him off.
opinion, Mayor, so point of order.
I-
Mr. DeBella has
This
the floor.
meeting is not going to be brought
How many minutes?
Thank you. Look, the same way Mr. Parisi got up and he was able to make his remarks in a derogatory way towards Councilwoman Richmond, I'm up here stating facts. So I would appreciate the opportunity to get them out. I think that's common courtesy. Spanovich is a nice man. I have nothing against him personally. This is about the facts.
I know you love saying my name, Joe. You keep saying it. Mr. Bonovich, I know you love me so much.
Your comments and behavior is rather unorthodox, but so be it. As it relates to this, I appreciate your comments, Councilwoman. The taxpayers will get stuck with an extra $675,000 because of this irresponsible behavior that didn't need to happen. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. DeBella.
Any other comments specific to the ordinance? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Richmond, seconded by Councilwoman O'Donnell. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 21-35?
Are we still open for comments?
No.
Until after,
No.
not yet.
We closed it.
After the motion
No, the
to,
public comment.
Read the motion.
We can have discussion.
Yeah.
My
I think
comment.
she meant.
not quite yet, but we'll be there in a
That's what
second.
she was asking
Thank
also.
you.
So is there a motion to adopt ordinance 21-35?
Motion to adopt 21-35.
I'll second that.
Moved by Councilman Bonovich, seconded by Councilwoman Richmond. Now is the opportunity for further comments by the body.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. My apologies for being out of order. I just would like to explain to the public in general that the document that continues to be referred to, I believe, is a 58-page document. And it's also important to remember that the zoning board was upholding what an official had already made a rendering on. So the zoning board was asked to uphold that decision. I think some people are getting a little confused as to a case and other things, but it's important for people to understand, and it's a little amusing, Mr. Parisi. You don't want to fan the flames, but in fact, I wasn't even going to speak, so you did fan my flames. It's important to know that as you go through the document, and I would suggest you reread it, because the judge absolutely says that social media was a major factor, and 5 times how happenings is referred to in this document. So if I have it, if anybody wants to read it, please. So it's just important that the truth is out there. What I find amazing is as people speak, there's a little bit of the truth and a little bit of their perception. And the perception is, on the last page, very clearly, social media played an enormous factor in this decision. So if you want the truth, just pick it up and help yourself, folks. So this is a very unsavory situation. We're going to bond over $8 million, not just the insurance money, but now we're looking at over $8 million. And yes, it's going to be open space because we're purchasing it. However, we're not using Green Acres money, so we're making a purchase for open space now, and we may determine to do something different with it later because we won't be held to the Green Acres rules. So it's important for people to know, yes, we're buying it, and at this point in time, it is open. So let's be very clear how we present this project. Thank you.
Mayor, may I? I just have a question for Mr. Clark. Thank you. Mr. Clark, since you are a township attorney and you were on this, am I on? Could you please, for the record, elaborate on what actually factually happened and how we got where we are, please? Just to state for the record. Thank you.
Sure. I'll try and give a brief summary. So, this case started with an appeal from the zoning officer's denial to the congregation. That's what was in front of the zoning board. At the same time, there was going to be a variance application filed because, based on the zoning officer's determination, a variance was necessary. The congregation actually filed the variance application, but they abandoned it after the zoning board upheld the officer's original denial. They went into court and they filed their complaint. Now, there's a lot of talk about the allegations of the complaint. The judge considered them in the motion. So early on, a motion was made to dismiss the case, and it was made to dismiss the case because the argument was that it wasn't ripe for decision. And it wasn't ripe for decision because they hadn't gone through the variance process yet. So that's what was in front of the judge, nothing more, nothing less, a procedural motion. So the judge applied the following standard. She looked at the allegations in the complaint, the legal conclusions she throws out because the judge doesn't have to consider them. The factual allegations, she accepted every single one of them as true for purposes of the motion. So she said, okay, they said that, there were these comments made on Facebook. I take that as true. There were these comments made on this webpage. I take them as true. That's what she did for purposes of the motion. And by the way, the allegations of the complaint were an example. It wasn't an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination. And the fact that people may or may not have been named specifically is probably more of a testament to a restraint in the pleading on the part of the plaintiff than it is, any credit to people. There are people named individually, but in any event, the judge decided that notwithstanding those arguments, based on the denial and based on the denial being upheld, the plaintiff had demonstrated enough that the case was ripe for decision by the court. And so she accepted jurisdiction over it, and that's when we started talking settlement. There was very little discovery. There were no depositions. There were no, there were no motions to amend the complaint or by the defendants to implead other parties. So, to the extent that some of these web pages weren't included, it's probably a function of the settlement having taken precedence over everything else rather than, again, any, credit in terms of not having a role in it. So that's basically where we are. So there hasn't been a jury finding. There has been a DOJ investigation. Again, the judge took all of the allegations in the complaint as true, as she's supposed to for purposes of that type of motion. I can get into the specifics. I can cite to the various paragraphs where, she cites to the complaint and says there X was happening on social media, Y was happening at the board. There's a lot of that. So, I think it is important to be accurate. I mean, I can go on all night. I could read all 10 pages of the social media posts if you'd like. I mean, the language, some of it's disgusting. Obviously, it's nothing that should be crowed about or credited, and obviously in a town like this, the people and the taxpayers that are on the hook for this now deserve better. Again, First Amendment aside, every right doesn't mean there's no consequence, and this is the consequence. So here we are, $8 million and some change later.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Are you ready for the vote? Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
An ordinance 21-35 has been properly adopted. Next is ordinance 21-36, which is an ordinance of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 139-84 of the Township Code entitled Towing and Storage. We will open the public hearing for this ordinance. If anyone wishes to speak to this matter, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Brennan.
Brennan? I have to learn your voice. Seconded by Councilman Bonovich. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 21-36?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 0-21-36.
Second.
Oh, good.
Moved by Councilwoman Richmond, seconded by Councilwoman O'Donnell. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Bonovich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Richmond?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
And ordinance 21-36 has been properly adopted, and that concludes all of the official business for this evening.
There are no new ordinances to be addressed today. And the next meeting date is reorg Tuesday, January 4th, 2021, in this meeting hall at 7 p.m. At this time, I want to wish everybody a happy holiday season, and stay safe, and happy holidays.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Merry Christmas, everyone.
This meeting is adjourned, 8:36 PM.